Get him.
Don't get me.
Oh no, there's a grabber. Where's Mommy going?
Please cover me, I'm so neat.
Come on!
I haven't got any bullets.
You need to scream.
Empties
For the algorithm.
the algorithm. Joe, oh.
Oh, we're all in hospital, girls.
Let me tell you a story. Way back in the year of 2022, I finally got myself a high quality PC for freelance purposes. My current laptop was starting to succumb to all the abuse it had suffered within my bag, and I needed something that didn't add clips into Premiere Pro at 5 frames per second. And of course, if you have a computer that's able to run Premiere Pro for longer than an hour, you can probably run the PC port of Arkham Knight. Time to defend Gotham City. Just like that, a whole generation of games that had been locked off to me were suddenly available. And man, did I have a lot of catching up to do. GTA 5, Counter-Strike, and PlanetSide 2 with decent settings this time. But despite having more options than ever, I've surprisingly played only a few games since having it. I thought it might just be because I find it easier playing on a portable device such as my Switch, or just because a lot of games available to me are too long to get through. Though then again, this hasn't stopped me from spending a considerable amount of time on games in the past. No, I think the real reason is that one particular friend of mine, on an uneventful December 22nd, decided to give me this. And I never played anything on Steam again. Deep Rock Galactic is a co-op first-person shooter developed by Ghost Ship Games and published by Coffee Stain Publishing, fully released onto Steam on the 13th of May 2020 after being in early access for 2 years, and other platforms much later. If you want a super quick review of this game, I can sum it up like this. And that's no coincidence. Ghost Ship Games have cited Left 4 Dead being a direct inspiration for the game's co-op foundation, though with more of a focus on ensuring players are on even footing regardless of level of experience, which roughly translates as you all get f***ed over about the same. However, this wasn't the only thing Ghost Ship Games took inspiration from, as the father of this beautiful child is a little known game called Minecraft, the first-person single-player co-op video game about mining blocks and building a house worth more than what you'll ever afford. One passionate night later and you get today's topic of the video, and it's definitely inherited those genes for mining. Deep Rock Galactic follows the working lives of 4 dwarves, currently employed as part of the mining conglomerate under the same name, often abbreviated as DRG. Like any big corporation, DRG loves money, and the mineral-rich planet of Hoxxes IV is teeming with endless money-making opportunities for those brave enough to venture through its hostile environments. And so, you and your fellow dwarven colleagues are sent down by management to complete various tasks in order to fill the deep pockets of your collective corporate overlords. But it's a lot more fun than it sounds.
Get off the computer.
To put it simply, DRG is about your squad of 4 going into a series of randomly generated mines in order to collect minerals and complete various different missions. From the get-go, you are provided 4 dwarf options to players: the Scout, Gunner, Engineer, and Driller. Unlike the characters from Left 4 Dead, each of the dwarves have their own skill sets and loadouts that differentiate how each one plays. Scouts specialise in light weaponry combined with a grapple hook and a flare gun to let them explore cavern layouts and provide feedback to the team, often via the marker beam that everyone is equipped with. They also have a slowdown grenade which does all, to be honest. The Gunner, alternatively, relies on heavy weaponry and leads the offensive against the game's tougher enemies. They're also equipped with a zipline to provide easier transport for the rest of the team, and a shield for when you need safety in a pinch. The Engineer relies on general support and area denial. Aside from a trusty shotgun, they are able to use automated sentry guns to help hold down key objectives. And finally, Drillers use their drill claws to mine through the terrain faster than the other classes. They also specialise in crowd control weapons, including a flamethrower and C4 for dispatching large swarms and the entire team.
He doesn't see the other redeeming qualities I have.
In practice, the 4 classes make for a great all-around team that covers all bases, with one crew being able to pick up for other aspects that the others may be lacking in. But the game doesn't force you to have only one of each dwarf, so if you want to multi-class as a scout and die 5 minutes into a mission, go right ahead. You start each mission from inside the space rig, an orbital operations base located outside of Hoxxes. The rig itself has plenty of things to explore and do on its own, but its main purpose is for mission selection. You can select one at random or view the assignments board for a series of quests tied to specific objectives. These can range from mining a certain mineral, repairing oil extraction rigs, or exterminating a number of tough boss monsters. Most missions consist of a primary objective with an optional secondary one if you're after a bonus. And it doesn't matter if the whole team's about to die in one hit, you do those side objectives regardless. Sometimes these missions will have additional conditions attached, from lighter air currents that make everyone move at an increased speed to the presence of rival corporations sending in drones to extract minerals, most often from your mutilated corpses. Already you get a lot of variety from the core mission objectives, but each of these extra conditions can spice things up with an additional challenge or change in gameplay. But the real variety comes in the many caverns of Hoxxes itself. The way caves work in DRG allows for a huge variety in how you play. All the caverns you explore are randomized in their layout, from minerals and objective placements to the location of tunnels, open areas, environmental hazards, and more. This includes a myriad of different biome themes as well. You can go from the crystal caverns to ice caves, canyon-esque chasms, and volcanic hellscapes. Some of these biomes are drop-dead gorgeous, and you can find yourself taking in the unique wildlife and biodiversity, and you can just find yourself getting lost in the scale of these caverns. Can we just take a second to talk about the music of this game as well? It's so good at setting the tone perfectly for the situation. There's always something mystical about the places you visit here, and this is one of the many things that the soundtrack amplifies for you. In terms of navigation, you have a map to get around and find objectives, but it's also fun to explore your own pace to look for minerals and finish up secondary tasks. Outside of a mission's main objective as well, you can also find mini side quests such as locked boxes requiring misplaced keys or the body of a dead miner lying somewhere in the caverns. Going out of your way to complete these extra quests nets you extra cosmetic awards, so it's always worth your while to go out looking for them. It's also a good idea to spend the calmer moments of exploration collecting resources you can use in crafting, mining health crystals for a pick-me-up in a pinch, and gathering nitro which you can exchange for ammo resupplies. You better make sure you get that. You will need it, because as beautiful and immersive as this game gets, there's a reason why so few dead venture into Hoxxes.
What is this?
Glyphids, Macteras, Nidoctites. These are some of the species that are native to the biomes found within Hoxxes. No matter where you go within the planet, you are under the constant threat of being swarmed by the variety of bugs hidden deep within the planet's many caverns. Each species covers a wide range of specialties. Some are your basic grunts that charge you in large packs, while bombers fly around and attack you with ranged weaponry that can slow down or deal poison damage. Some glyphids will come as an explosive variant that detonates upon being killed, while specialist breeds of Macteras will grab you and deposit you screaming soon-to-be deceased body into the depths below. Some of these species will come with their own variants depending on the region you're currently in, such as glacial glyphids being common in the coldest sections of the planet, or infected grunts being present in rockpox infected areas. Heck, even the planet's biolife wants to kill you. Sometimes you'll be casually minding your own business only to be caught by a cave leech, and there ain't nothing you can do about that one. One of these biomes is solely dedicated to puncturing you with stabber vines whenever you try to mine anything, and sometimes plants in the area will just explode.
Are you
Enemies often come in swarms, and if you're underprepared for it, you're very likely going to struggle to fend everything off without a few casualties. Sometimes you end up fighting boss bugs such as dreadnoughts, where every single attack will one-hit you and practically drain your team's entire ammo reserve to take down. Killing these is stressful enough, but that's not even the worst of it. Remember that rival tech mentioned earlier? Think that these little floating drones aren't too much of a problem? Any thoughts about the triangle of death? Fighting bugs is a lot to manage on its own, but rival tech brings in some of the most annoying things to deal with. You'll find yourself regularly swarmed by shredders, burst turrets, sniper turrets, and of course everyone's favourite. It's called the Nemesis for a reason. Depending on the hazard level for a mission, you can be dealing with larger amounts of enemy spawns with increased damage at the harder difficulties. And this includes randomly spawned mini-bosses such as infected drones and rival tech enemies. And this is where the random elements of the game's missions and cavern layouts gets a tiny bit unbalanced. Take for instance one Hoxxes IV mission. This is the second hardest difficulty scale you can go for, but depending on additional conditions, you'll either be dealing with your basic swarms at an increased capacity, or basic swarms, plus 2 dreadnoughts you need to take out, plus rockpox you need to decontaminate, and whilst a wave of glyphids have fully depleted your reserves ammunition, the game decides to spawn in 2 mini-bosses, and then 2 more. It's a lot to take in. No two missions of Deep Rock Galactic are the same. There's just too many variables that take place in each mission where even in the harder difficulties you never know if it's going to be a considerable challenge or a death sentence. But on that note, it's a good thing that there's a wide variety in your dwarven gear too. As touched on earlier, there are extra minerals scattered around caverns for crafting purposes. You can deposit this into the shared storage via your trusty mule companion or a mission specific deposit point. Once you complete a mission, you'll be sent back to the space rig along with any cash and additional minerals you collected. This can be spent in your equipment section, where your weapons can be upgraded with things such as increased ammo capacity, accuracy, and more side effects. There's also unlockable grenades you can get, and even new weapons eventually can be unlocked via assignments. Each of the classes has a separate ranking system from your player rank, and the further you get up, the more upgrades you can install onto your gear. There are also perk points that you can unlock after completing specific milestones, to spend on perks shared across your characters, ranging from the ability to instantly pick up a downed dwarf to turning one of the glyphids into your personal bodyguard. Weapon upgrades aren't the only thing you can use your materials on though. Deep Rock Galactic also has an extensive pool of cosmetics you can spend your resources on. You can change almost anything on your dwarf, from hats, suits, skin color, and a very varied selection of beards. These can be brought from the shop or via seasonal rewards. Yes, this game has a mini Fortnite built into it as well. Deep Rock Galactic has a battle pass that you can complete over the course of a few months, fully free I might add. This is where you can unlock extra hats, weapon skins, and weapon colors to use on your dwarf via the battle pass tiers and a free cosmetic tree. And if you happen to miss something on a season, it gets added to the rig's item store by the time the next one rolls around, so you don't have to worry about, missing the Deadpool skin. And honestly, I think that's the craziest part about it. Something else worth mentioning is that the minerals you collect at the end of a mission are not exclusive to just yourself. Regardless of who puts it in the deposit, you all get the same amount of minerals. The same deal goes for any cosmetic loots you find in the game as well. You all get to take the reward. Rather than fighting with your teammates over who gets what, you're encouraged to work together to guarantee everyone wins at the end. And this ties into why I think Deep Rock Galactic has resonated with me so strongly, as well as many others. To wrap up everything I've mentioned with Deep Rock Galactic, I wanted to mention that my friend didn't just gift me a copy of this game. He gave one to the 2 other members of our small gaming group of 4 as well. This isn't out of the norm for us, but being able to play a game like this together with my friends has made me appreciate something that DRG does so well. That being, it's the first co-op game I've seen where my group actually felt like we were cooperating. What makes DRG so special is that all these features such as the freedom of class picking, the sharing of materials, and the scale of challenges ahead of you actively seeks to take away any sense of toxic competition between players. That's not to say other games don't take similar precautions, but I've often done co-op games before where you're fighting over who gets what rewards at the end of a quest, or scenarios in which you compete for that extra bonus at the end of a mission. For goodness sakes, Mario 3D World is a co-op game and yet half of it is spent fighting over a crown that doesn't do anything. Even outside of this, the way the game immerses you into the role of a working class dwarf grounds you all in the same position. I think the space rig is a good example of this, as it's more than just a mission select place. It has sleeping quarters for all the players. There's a jukebox for dancing. You can go to the bar together after a mission and order drinks, which can have some interesting side effects. Don't forget to leave a tip for the bartender, by the way. And outside of pre-recorded voice lines with your Wayfinder tool, the only taunt you have is your dwarf saying a cry for unity, to show your pride for your job and appreciation for your fellow dwarves. The dwarves aren't just random colleagues, they are friends, bound together by the same low-paying shitty job. And we all know that's the strongest type of bond you could ever forge. Across reviews for this game, you'll constantly see comments about the game's positive community, and how everyone will rush to save the one downed player even as the time to escape is counting down. While other games encourage you to work as a team, this was the first time I feel I was encouraged to work as family.
Kill it! Yes!
Oh my god.
I don't have friends. I got family.
In conclusion, I don't think I can say anything new about this game that hasn't already been mentioned before. By now, the game's popularity has grown to the point where it sits as the highest rated game on Steam. However, I still wanted to mention why this game has left an impact on me, as it's not something I ever would have considered trying had it not been gifted to me. In such a short time, Deep Rock Galactic has managed to cement itself as my current favourite co-op game. It's fun, it's fast-paced, it's got a well of content added to it that I couldn't fully cover here, and I haven't felt this strongly connected to my friends in the game since Team Fortress 2. I strongly recommend this game if you've got friends to play it with. It's one of the best games on the market right now, and you're going to have a heck of a time with it.
Rock and stone.
The rock and stone.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the single player. Okay, so to be fully honest, I thought this was going to be a lot harder, but I didn't realize what it's like to have a competent teammate till I had Bosco. So, yeah.
For the algorithm, though. For the algorithm.
For the algorithm.
All for the algorithm.
All the good gameplay is total silence, no commentary.
Silence. It's
That-
just 4 concentrated faces with just the words "the algorithm" below them.
Subtitle of the algorithm, just every now and then.
For the deaf listeners at home, they're discussing the algorithm. I've no bullets.